So I will check and wait to see for anybody who's tuning in. And I'll try to explain what's going on as we go along. But first, to see if anyone is joining in. Daniel's here. Hello, Daniel. How's it going? I know normally on Sundays we do a afternoon tea kind of thing, but we're kind of working on the railroad right now, so, well, no tea time today. But I think you'll find that there's some pretty interesting updates going on. And hello, Ocean Liner Builds. Hello, Monk. Hello, Ozzy. Alright, so I built this the other day. This is, it's basically like a rock slide shed. So, essentially, it'll get pushed a bit further back, but it'll help to prevent rock slides from hitting the rails when I start building up the mountain. And I was going to start building up the mountain today, but I'm working on, instead, the engine house. Hello, Daniel. Daniel says, will you put a river under the bridge? The river will go under this bridge here. So, I have a bridge there being supported by a box, just to make sure that the bridge doesn't fall, because the bridge isn't completely glued down yet. So, because I have to, that'll be the river there, and the river will be, let me put this like that, there we go. And the river will be, there'll be plaster all down through the river to make sure it's watertight, because eventually I'll put a resin to make water, and the resin, you need to make sure all the seams and cracks are completely sealed, or else the resin will just kind of go everywhere. But, so, hey Rayanne, how's it going? Hey Kevin. Is it possible to make a tiny ship or boat? I've thought about it. There's a possibility to make like a fishing boat. But the thing is that the scale of this layout is much too large, and the river is much too shallow. And I didn't build the bridges in such a way that the bridges can lift, so it wouldn't make sense to have a large boat on the river, especially since the boat would probably be too large for the river anyway. So really the biggest boat I could put in this river is like a fishing boat, like just like a small, like little, like a two-person boat. So, but I'll kind of explain some things here. So, so yesterday I went to this, what was it, Dad? The
75th anniversary of
the Columbia River Gorge Model Railroad Club. Yeah. So they're having their 75th anniversary. They have kind of an open house. We went there. We saw the whole thing. I filmed some of it so I can make a video for you guys. Ozzy says, hi, Dad. And we went to the gift shop, and I saw very few things in O scale, which is the scale I work with. And we ended up talking to this one guy who was volunteering there, and he's like, oh, you work with O scale? And I'm like, yeah, I do. And he goes, oh, we have a bunch of stuff upstairs. He goes, if you want to look at it, you know, you can make up a box of things that you want, and I'll give you a good price. I was like, all right. So we went up there. We found a bunch of stuff in O scale. So I found this little building, which I think technically is HO scale, but it'll work for this layout because I can't have any buildings that are too large, or else it'll look really odd. So, yeah, so, and then I also have that little farmhouse back there. I also bought the little horse that you see there. And this is kind of the approximate placement of everything. So there'll be a little town here with a road that's parallel to these tracks. These two tracks that split here, that's the engine house. So it's got room for two engines next to each other. So I'm actually currently working on building the engine house. Hey, Jimmy. Let's see. Jimmy says, I'll listen to you in the background so I know what's happening. Cool. Let's see. Oceanliner Build says, by the way, in the UK we call it a railway, Americans call it a railroad. Yeah, I know. And, okay, so, and then this area will eventually have a small little depot, and then this track that, sorry, this is laying on top, but I'll just set that over there for now. This track will have an area to drop off freight, so it'll be pretty neat, and I'm still trying to decide if there's anywhere I could put this extra switch track with some extra track, but I've really thought about it, and I don't think there's any more room on this layout to put any more track. So, but yeah, and then over here, where this freight track comes around, I might have an area here where it can pick up logs from the river, because, you know, when they do logging, they float the logs down the river, and I can load them onto log cars. So I might do that there. But, yeah, so that's the layout. Oh, I also got some extra props for the gondola cars. So we got some bales of hay, some big round hay things, and then we also have barrels. So I put those in the gondola cars because they've been empty all this time. So, yeah, and then once again back to the rock slide shed or the snow shed, either one. Built that yesterday. Took all day, but it was really well worth it. And you can see that's kind of what it looks like next to the passenger cars. There's plenty of room inside. And then there's the Pony Truss Bridge. Hey Steve, how's it going? Chris says, my model railroad is a shelf layout. Awesome. Yeah, mine is a very large 4-foot by 8-foot layout. So it's huge. It takes up a big portion of space in my apartment. So, let's see. I'll show you what my dad's working on right now. So if I bring you over here to where we're working, right now, I asked my dad to build me a building from scratch. So I wanted something that, you know, because my dad's a model builder and stuff, and so I wanted something that just really reflected him and, you know, his creativity that will always be on the layout. So that whenever I point it out to people, they'll be like, oh, that's cool, you know. And so he's building a dual-purpose building. What do you think will go inside, Dad?
Well, a bank and telegraph.
A bank and a telegraph office. Awesome. This is one of the walls, like the back wall. So I think that's the door that he's working on. I'll put that there, but it's the back wall. And yeah, the windows with the windowsills. Pretty neat. I'll show you what it looks like in reverse. On the reverse side, it's all wood. So he's carving it out of wood and putting it all together. And then when it's put together, it looks really realistic. And then the bricks, they'll have some weathering and maybe some extra paint work going on to make it look more, what's the word?
Real?
Real, yeah. Just more realistic. So that kind of work will be going on. And then what I'm doing here is I'm designing the engine house for the 2 locomotives. I've already measured out pieces of wood. You can see I've put little tick marks and a number next to the corresponding beams and stuff that will go on. I've drawn some very simple looking designs, but all of it can be drawn to scale, and I can use this as like a template to know where the windows are. But here's what the front will look like. So the front will have a doorway for each engine, and I've measured out the width and where the rails will go, and then there'll be a roof with a little what do we call that? Kind of like a cupola, but it extends along the entire length of the engine house to vent out any smoke or heat or gases from the engines. And it'll kind of have that, and that's what it'll look like from the front. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now. Isaiah says, I wish you have more locomotives. So I have these two locomotives here. The one on the right is called a Forney. So it's a 244T. And then the one on the left is a Porter. It's a 042T. Or I guess ST for saddle tank. But, yeah. I don't mind having a third locomotive, but the thing is, you guys, these locomotives are expensive. I got these two at a really good price back when there wasn't so much demand. But right now there's a lot of demand because pretty much all the companies that build in this particular scale, which is ON30, all the companies have stopped offering. So a lot of this stuff they don't even make anymore. And they only stopped recently. I'd say maybe like 3 or 4 years ago they stopped making stuff. So engines now in this scale, ON30, is hundreds of dollars. I saw this exact engine, this Forney. I got that for $130 from someone that previously owned it and operated it. If you get a used one today online, it'll cost about $300. And there's no way I'm forking over $300 for a third engine. So, yeah. And then, of course, all the ones that they build today are what's called DCC, which is Digital Command Control. This is not a DCC layout. This is a old-fashioned style DC layout, direct current. So, I would literally, if I got another locomotive, I'd have to do what I did to this Forney, which is to take it apart and rewire it to work on a DC layout, which is old-fashioned. DC is what they used to use when I was a kid, but now they make everything DCC, so you can run lights and sounds separately from the movement of the engines. And of course, with DCC, you can run multiple engines at the same time, but with a DC layout like mine, you can only run one engine at a time, because the little power pack here is only designed to run one engine. So, yeah. But even though it's a large layout, 4 feet by 8 feet, it is not large in terms of model railroading. So, as you can see, there's barely room to fit 2 trains on the same track. It's pointless to run 2 trains on such a short piece of track. So, that's why I decided not to do DCC, because DCC is far more expensive. So Chris says, my models of my Panzers are skill level 5 and 6. I don't know what Panzers are. Brian says, are they tanks?
Well, Panzers are German tanks.
Oh.
What he's talking about?
I don't know. He just says the models of my Panzers. But I don't know what... Yeah, they might be tanks.
German World War II tanks.
Oh yeah, Kevin says it's a German. It's tank in German. Yeah, so I guess you're right. It is World War II tanks. Brian says, hi, Alex and Mr. Adler. I hope you're both doing fine and having a fun time building your model railway. I can't wait until it's finished, and it is going to look amazing. Thanks. Yeah, well, I mean, anybody who builds model railroads knows you're never quite finished. It's always something that's changing, and you're always adding or removing things. But I would say that when it gets finished looking, it'll look a lot better. I've been trying to rush to get this mountain range kind of done, because when I do my afternoon tea times on Wednesdays and Sundays, I usually set a webcam up like right here so you can see this view of the trestle bridge and stuff. And it's always the same view, and people think that because the foam is white that I'm like replicating like ice or something. But it's just because the model is not completely painted yet. And the mountain work has not been done. This is just a really rough cutout of the mountains. It's not what it'll look like finally. And it's not even the right height either, because it's going to be double this height. So what you see here, it'll be double. And there'll be lots of things to kind of block views from certain angles. So when the mountain is done, you won't be able to see the tracks back there. And that's a good thing, because you want people to walk around the layout and not be able to see the whole thing. It makes it more interesting that way, when you can, force people to kind of walk around and look for things. And so it'll be the same thing over here. There'll be like trees and hills and things that will kind of block views from certain angles, making you need to kind of walk around and see more of it. And there'll be little scenery and things on the other sides of the buildings, which you'll only be able to see if you're on that side of the layout. And this whole layout, my friend Steve built it. That's the second Steve, so Steve R, unless you're considering Steve A, the first Steve. But anyway, yeah, so my friend Steve, who's also in the chat right now, he's your channel's Expedition Steve, right? I keep forgetting. Yes, Expedition Steve. He's in the chat right now. He built me this table, so I gave him my old N-scale layout in exchange for him building me this new table, which looks really great. He did this really cool technique where he kind of burned the wood to make it look old-fashioned. And you can't see, but behind my dad's chair is a little plaque that says TCRR, which is the name of the railroad, Tumble Rock Canyon Railroad, named after this little canyon here. So, let's see. People left a bunch of comments. Let me see if I can. LBSCR. No, I do not have Roblox. I don't really play Roblox. Let's see. Isaiah says, so you like Lionel? No, I really do not like Lionel. This is O scale, but it is not Lionel. This is ON30, which means O scale, narrow gauge, 30 inch. Which stands for the space between the tracks, 30 inches of space between the tracks. But it is called ON30. So this is O scale, narrow gauge, 30. So, but no, I do not like Lionel trains. The Lionel trains, I think of them as toys. So I'm not a fan of toys, I'm a fan of models. So the models are really detailed. Let's see here. Jimmy says the train looks amazing. Thanks so much. Alright, let me go back to Stefan says say hi. Hello, Stefan. Let's see, Mike. Hello, everyone, and Alex. Hello, Mike. Daniel says, hey, Alex, if your friend has your layout, does he use it, and does he use your old engines? I did not give him all my old engines. I think I gave him one or two engines, and I gave him, I think, maybe one of the trains. I kept a lot of the rest because they were really sentimental to me. A lot of it was stuff my grandfather gave me, and then a lot of it was stuff that I actually worked on myself, so I didn't want to give everything away, but I gave him the original N-scale layout, which was like all the tracks, the scenery, everything was all pretty much almost completed. I think he did set it up at one point, and he was running trains on it at his old house. He is currently waiting on his new house to be completed, and I think he'll set it up there. But yeah, he did use it, and he's gonna buy his own trains and stuff to go on it. Because I work with steam, and I think he really wants to work with like diesel and slightly more modern trains and stuff, I think. But Steve can speak for himself if he wants. He's in the chat. So, let's see. Stefan says, what are you working on? So, to kind of reiterate, because I know some people are just joined, but basically we're working on the model railroad today. We're building some of the buildings. So my father is working on this custom building that I asked him to do for me because I kind of wanted something that was made by him, designed by him, that can sit on the layout all the time, and I can kind of tell a little story about it. So he's working on a building that doubles as one side will be like a bank and another side will be a telegraph office. So that's kind of what he's working on. And then what I'm working on is the engine house. So I've already drawn out a few papers of designs for the engine house. I've measured all the pieces of wood I need to start cutting out the beams and stuff like that to make the engine house. It's a 2-track engine house, and I'll show you where it goes. It'll be 11 inches long, and it'll go right here where these 2 tracks are, and the engine house will cover that to kind of house that. So I'm working on that today. Yesterday, he was also working on the same thing, but yesterday I was working on this. This is the rock slide / snow shed to protect the tracks, because there'll be a big mountain here kind of going around this thing. And, you know, rock slides and snow and stuff like that. You don't want that to affect the train. So I built this little snow shed to kind of house the train. There you go. Pretty neat. So I built that yesterday. Yeah. That's what we've been kind of working on today. It does take a while to build these buildings and stuff, but, you know, I went and bought some things yesterday. I bought some props to put in the gondola cars, you know, hay bales and barrels. And then, I also have this little horse a horse that's laying down. I've put it inside the cattle car because I thought it was hilarious. But he's going to be repainted. I don't like that weird paint scheme he has. But I bought that. And then I also bought this. It's like a cafe. It was already made by someone else, another model railroad builder, but they ended up giving it away or selling it, so we bought it from just a little gift shop. And then there's a little farmhouse, and I kind of got that. It needs to be painted. It's not painted, you know. But yeah, so that's what we're working on today. And then eventually, hopefully, it'll all work out. Expedition Steve says, can you show the lights you did in your passenger cars? Yeah, absolutely. I can't, like, take it apart and show you, but what I can do is turn it on. So let me get the cable unwound. There's no engines on the track, so I can actually do this pretty safely. So we just turn this on, and if I turn up the... There we go. I just turn up the power, and the lights turn on in the passenger cars. Pretty neat. John says, are you liking the snow? Yeah, actually, my dad and I went on a walk today because it was snowing, and so I was like, let's take a walk. So, yeah. But yes, the lights in these cars I did myself, because you see these cars, when I bought them, they each came with a little incandescent bulb, one per car. And the thing is that incandescent bulbs, they're not very bright, especially on these model railroads. I wanted something that was bright, and one light was not good for all these cars, you know. At least 2 was necessary to light up the cabin of the passenger cars. So I went and did the rewiring, and I installed 2 lights per passenger car. So, and there's 4 passenger cars in total. The 4th one is way back here. I like the 4th one because it's got a little observation platform. So you can kind of see the observation platform on the end. So that's what I like about these passenger cars. But yeah, pretty neat. Isaiah says, do you like Polar Express? The movie? Yeah, I kind of like it. Hello, Moonzer. Brian says, it's a shame you couldn't get little miniature figures that would fit in the passenger carriages. I think that would look awesome. I could eventually. I mean, they literally do sell passenger figures that are sitting down, so you could put them in the cars. I will eventually, but the cars actually need painting on the inside, because the cars inside are not painted. It's just white plastic, and I want to paint them so they look nicer. So eventually I'll do that, and then that's when I'll add the people. But, I mean, technically, the first passenger on this railroad is this little horse. Yeah. He's just chilling in the cattle car. Pretty cool. Jeffrey says, will there be any Disneyland references in your layout? At the moment, any kind of references will be a long time in the future, so I don't currently have any plans for that, but there might be, I might eventually add something here or there, but no, at the moment there's nothing. Just a lot of basic work must be done first before I can plan that out. Let's see. Brocky, how you doing? I'm doing great, Brocky. Let's see. So, once again, the work that my dad's doing. Right now he's making doors to go in the shop. Pretty cool. Measuring them out and drawing out the designs. So, and the designs for the engine house I'm going to do tonight. I don't think I'll get this engine house completed tonight though. It'll probably take several days worth of work, but yeah. Moonzer, pretty cool. Hello, Mike. So yeah, so far I have 2 locomotives. Maybe one day I'll get a third one, but for now it's just the 2. Little town will go there eventually. I'm also gonna custom build some logging cars. So I think 3 what they call skeleton log cars. I'm gonna build those from scratch because I looked at buying them and they were just really expensive. For 3 of them it's $100. So I'm like, dude, all it is like some pieces of wood attached to wheels. I'm like, it's not that difficult to make, so I'll just make them myself. So yeah, I'm gonna build 3 log cars myself. So yeah, model railroading is really expensive. I know, that's the thing is, it'd be really nice if more people my age got into model railroading. I'd have a lot more friends by now. But the thing is that the people that make all this stuff, they charge so much money. So everything is expensive. I mean, I got these passenger cars each for quite a deal. I think it worked out to maybe $30 each for these passenger cars, and that was, I even had to rewire them myself, so they were already used and stuff, but that was $30 each. That I thought that was expensive, but these cars now go on eBay still with their original wiring, so it's not even nice looking like this. They now go on eBay for like $65-$70 each, so it's really expensive, and I would never dream of spending $70 on a passenger car like that. So I was really lucky that I got all this stuff for relatively cheap. I mean, look at these 3. There's a cattle car and 2 box cars, and I got each of these for $10 at a swap meet. So $10. They were kind of bent out of shape and a little bit damaged, but we fixed them. I think the final work that I had to do was done yesterday. Each of them, you probably can't see very well, but each of them has a brake wheel attached to a rod like that. Brake wheel, rod. And those were bent and broken, and so what we did was we just installed new rods and new brake wheels on there. So the last bit of work to repair those cars has finally been done. So now they're like brand new, and I got them for $10 each originally. But if you want one of these today, you're spending around $50 for one of those box cars. At least $50. I've seen one of them go for $60. So yeah, I was really lucky to get a lot of this stuff when it was still cheap. Even the engines, I was just telling people earlier, I got this engine for $130. It was a really good deal, but the engine did not run when the guy sent it to me. He said it ran perfectly fine, but it didn't. It was short-circuited. So I rewired it and fixed it and got it running. And now that same engine used goes for $300. So, yeah, so it's really ridiculous how expensive model railroading can be. So I'm really very good at looking for a deal. But part of the reason why I haven't gotten any new cars or anything, or any new locomotives in years, in like 4 years, is because they're just too expensive. So, Leah says, I love the little open top ones with the little bales and barrels. Yeah, that's the gondola cars. So, yeah. And I bought all the little props yesterday, so all the little props come out. There's a barrel. Yep. And little bales of hay. These were custom made, I think. They feel like styrofoam covered in some type of grassy material. And you can see the person even added like thread for the bands on the bale of the hay. So I think those were all custom made. Those weren't factory made, I don't think. But, yeah, I bought those from a little swap meet. Like I was saying earlier in the live stream, my dad and I went to the Columbia River Gorge Model Railroad Club. They had a 75th anniversary open house, so they're letting people go through to see their model railroad, and they also have a gift shop. And they don't normally sell to people a lot of O-scale stuff, but when I told them that I work with O-scale, they were like, hey, come upstairs, we got all this stuff. So I went up there, they said, make a box of stuff you want, we'll give you a good price. And really they did. I got a lot of stuff yesterday for just $25. I mean, a lot of stuff. I mean, it includes the red building there, the farmhouse back there, the horses, the one in the car, one in the thing, the props, like the hay bales. I got some weathered looking logs. They got like moss and stuff on them. They're just logs and stuff. I got a lot of stuff yesterday. And it was only $25, so that was really, really nice. And they took my name and number, so so if they have anything that they think that they can sell to me, because they get a lot of O-scale stuff in, but they don't often sell it very much. So they're like, hey, we'll contact you if we have stuff that fits your layout, and and we'll sell it to you for a good price. So I'm like, wow, that's really great. So. But yeah, that's why in model railroading you gotta network with people. That's how you get good deals. My friend Mateo, he was telling me just the other day he went to a model railroad show or something like that, and he was able to network with some new people, and so now I think he's part of a model railroad club. So that's pretty cool. Let's see, Murdoch. Wyatt says, oh nice, I didn't miss this. Yeah. So now I've already showed you what I'm going to do, so I'll go ahead and set up the live stream camera, and I'll start working a little bit on the building I plan to do. So let me just adjust this down so you guys can see what I'm doing. I'm going to tighten that. Alright. There we go. And I'll do my best to try to answer your guys' questions. If I can see them. Because it's not at the correct height for this, but... Dad, are you still using that, the orange thing? Okay, thanks. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So now, LBSCR. I really don't know. I mean, it's not like people in those days were like, oh, I'm gay and I'm going on the Titanic. Like, I mean, there's no way we could possibly know. Okay. Alright, so now we're going to cut out some of the beams and stuff that make up the framework of the building. And I'll start with the bigger pieces. So actually I need to push this over that way. There we go. So I use this little, I forget what they call this. There's an official name for this type of saw with the thing, but anyway, use this and that's just extra. And then what's this one? This will be used for something. I think this is going to be used for one of the window sills, so I'll put that there. And then this will be used for the length of the engine house. I dropped it. So basically, Mike says miter saw. Yes, that's right. That's right. You got miter saw. So this is the length of the engine house, because this is the beam. So it's 11 inches. So it's certainly going to be one of the largest buildings that I've ever made for a train layout. And actually one of the most complex, believe it or not, because even though it's mostly a box shape, there's some intricate little like triangular shapes with the roof and stuff. But yeah, so I need quite a few of these beams. Alright, let's put that to the side. Then there's another one here somewhere. Alright, here we go. Alright. And this one. Alright. LBSCR, you know, I don't think your questions are really appropriate. If you keep making inappropriate questions like that, I'm gonna have to do something like time you out or something. I don't think that's really appropriate. At first I thought you were being serious and you were just curious, but now I'm thinking you're just being mean. So alright, cool. 2 more. And this is the really complex one. I'll save this one for last. Alright, now this one. That there. And this one here. That goes there. Okay, and then all of these help make the windowsill. All right. Do. So does anyone here have a model railroad of their own, or do you collect any kind of railroad stuff? There. Right. That goes there. Another one. So this is kind of the tedious part about building all this stuff, because we're making it all out of wood. So everything has to be cut all to the precise measurements and stuff. But the cool thing about working with O scale is that it's really easy to memorize, because a 1/4 inch equals a foot. So, so it's actually really easy to design stuff. Unlike certain other scales, like N scale, for instance, which is really just a bit more tedious for calculating the dimensions of buildings and things from scratch. It's not impossible. There's lots of people that do it, but it's certainly tedious in my opinion. So O scale is a lot easier. But it's funny, I never thought I'd be working with this scale because, you know, when I was younger, I had HO scale, and I always liked that, but it was too large of a scale to have kind of like a, I don't know, a detailed layout, I guess. But mostly the problem I had with it was if you wanted to work with the small steam engines that like I wanted to have, they didn't run right in HO scale. Only the larger ones, like if you really liked the stuff like the Mikados or the Challenger or the Big Boy or something, those work just fine in HO scale. Oh, that was meant to go there. But yeah, I like working with the smaller steam engines. And they don't have stuff like I was showing you guys the Forney engines, which are way over there. But I was showing you guys earlier in the live stream the Forney engines. They don't have that in HO scale. So, but then later on, my grandfather showed me that he had an N scale layout, and it had some American 440 engines, and I thought that's pretty cool, and I started working with N scale, but then I was soon having troubles because it's such a small scale that the engines just don't work right all the time. A little bit of dust on the tracks can make them all lose power, and it's just really finicky when it comes to steam in N scale. Diesel is just fine. So finally, in a bit of desperation to maintain my hobby of model railroading, I thought, well, what about ON30? There's a lot of people building stuff in ON30, and I found out that it's actually really easy to work with ON30 because of the fact that the engines run just fine. You don't have to worry about stuff like a little bit of dirty tracks making everything come to a stop, or, you know, just little details. And then, of course, everything is easy to build in this scale because it's easy to calculate. John says, I don't have a model railroad. I do have a Lego Max train. Work on my own transit center. Nice. I've heard those Lego trains are pretty cool. All right, this is the last piece. So I forgot what these are for. Oh, these are for the doorways. Okay. Mike says, I still have all my Legos I had when I was a kid. Oh, wow, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I used to have a bunch of Lego stuff. Especially, like, for Christmas, my dad would always get me, like, Lego, like, models and stuff. Usually Star Wars stuff. But the problem I always had with Lego was that I'm always moving. I'm always going to a new apartment or something somewhere. So everything has to be packed up. And then it breaks apart when I transport it. And then I don't know how to put it back together again. And then, you know, or something happens and it falls off of a table or something. And it shatters to pieces. And I don't know how to fix it. And so after a while, I just kind of gave up. I was like, I didn't know what to do. What is this? Oh, and it goes there. So, alright, and this one goes like this. Yeah, I don't remember what that's for, but this one. And then this. Gump says, "Hey Alex, good to see you work on the railroad." Thanks. Yeah. I've been really wanting to get some of the work done on it, so... Because otherwise it just sits there and doesn't do anything. Alright. That goes there. Okay. Alright, this is the tricky one. So this has to be done... Let's see. Oh, it has to be done from that side. Okay. Alright. So, we line this up here. I don't know how I'm going to do this. I need to... Stefan says, what is better, build a model train or drive a model train? I don't know. I mean, it really depends on the person. Some people just like building models. Some people just like operating models. So I think I myself prefer just to operate the trains. I don't think the model building process is fun for me. I do it because I need it to be done. and you know, I can't just hire people to do all the work for me. So, you know, but, you know, it's got to be done, so I do what I can. Oh, jeez. I knew this was going to give me trouble. There we go. Alright. And this one can go here. Alright, that piece is done. Let's see here. And then this one has to be cut like this. Mike says, "What's your dad making?" Well,
I'm making a door.
he's making a door to go along with. Oh wow, that's really good. How did you do that?
A lot of measuring.
Jeez. And he's making a door to go on the building that he's constructing for the layout. So, yeah. All right. Now this one. There. Alright, so now you'll see what I'm doing is if we take this one here, oh here, I'll lay it out like this. I made 45-degree cuts on that. And then the final one. And you can see that'll be the doorway to the engine house. So I just completed one. Still have some more cuts to do to make the second one. Then after that I'll start putting together the framework for the building. LBSCR says, do you have Minecraft? No, I don't really have Minecraft. I don't have Roblox or Minecraft or anything. I don't like playing that stuff. I work with three-dimensional stuff, and you know, they say every artist has their medium, and this would be mine.
I think Minecraft is funny because a long time ago, when maybe 10 years ago, everybody was into, the graphics. And now Minecraft has no graphics. It's pixelated. It's weird. And people's like into Minecraft. I don't understand that.
You know what's funny, Dad, is that's exactly what I say to people too. I said, like, all my life growing up, all anybody's ever wanted was better graphics. And Minecraft is like the opposite of that. It's all pixels. Yeah. And so I never really understood it.
Yeah.
So, but that's funny. That's the exact same thing I tell people. Yeah.
I don't understand it either. And then, of course, you have to eat on it so to keep your power up. And you have that sound. So it's kind of weird.
Yep. See, Stefan says you glue it together now. Now, I still have the other doorway to make, and then I'll start putting together some of the frames. Alright, so this one is done like that. Doing these really small cuts is difficult, especially when you get to the end, because then it makes it hard for you to hold on to the piece while you're cutting it. But Okay, there we go. Alright, for now, that's enough cutting. There'll need to be more stuff cut in the near future, but at the moment, I can start working on gluing the frames together. Okay. Wyatt says, I have an old train, but it's still in its box. Has no table for it to go on. Yeah. Sometimes it takes a long time before anybody's able to actually, like, start putting together a train layout. My dad's wanted one his whole life. He still doesn't have one. So...
Well, and I like HO scale, so...
Yeah. Alright, so... These are the 2 frames for one wall. These are all the things that go in between. So, let's start glue... Oh, wait, before I can glue this, I need to mark out where all the beams will go. Goofy Rules says, have you ever seen TT scale? It's half the size of N scale. I have seen it. I went to a railroad swap meet once, and I saw somebody had a layout set up in TT scale. And yeah, it was kind of funny. But the thing about that scale is that really the only thing you can run on it is like either diesel trains or electric trains, like, you know, the like Shinkansens and stuff like that, because there's no way you could have a steam locomotive on there. It's so small. And the other interesting thing about TT scale is that it's so small that I think the wheels have to be magnetic to be magnetized to the track so they don't just fall off the rails. But I think these are... No, it's too small to be. Oh, that's what that is. These should have been shorter then. Alright, well, we'll fix that later. Those 2 go there. These will go somewhere else. These will go with that. Alright. With that. And with that. Mike says, how small is TT scale? Well, let's see. I can kind of draw it out a little bit. So, N scale, let's see. If you were to have a modern diesel locomotive in N scale, it would just about be 1.5 or maybe 1.25 inches tall. So, like that, if I remember correctly. And half that scale, so let's see, you'd have 1.5, and then half of that for there, and half of that, so let's see. Oh no, it's still too big. There you go. Let's see. Wyatt says... Wait, I already read that one. Mike says, so really tiny. Sylvia says, oh my god, that is tiny. Yeah, it's really tiny. And then there's Z-scale, which is ever so slightly smaller than that. So, or is it actually Z-scale is bigger than TT? Yeah, Z-scale is bigger than TT scale by only just a little bit. Like Z-scale would be like there. Yeah, so that's Z-scale. But yeah, TT is the smallest scale that exists in model railroading. But yeah. Now, my phone is about to die, so you guys will probably be done with the live stream. But I'll just give you one last shot of what we're working on. My dad's finishing up that building that will be a telegraph office and a bank. And then over here we have the layout with the trains already set up kind of on it. I've already built the snow shed. You can see the lights for the cars are on. Have some brand new buildings and stuff. And the engine house I'm building will go at the end of these two tracks here. So that's where the engine house will be. So anyway, you guys, thank you all for joining me. Thank you so much. And I'll keep you guys updated. And I will see you all on Wednesday. Bye-bye, everybody.